You love dogs more than people?
More than people. A dog doesn't know how to lie to you. A dog doesn't know how to be fake. It is what it is.
You have two of DMX's dogs. Do you ever play DMX's music for them? do they ever react a certain way when you hear his voice?
I guess they had his energy of loving music and vibration, so the conversations I have with him, I wouldn't put it past him being in one of my dogs.
X was like the first battle rapper to us. X was really robbing people and rapping about it later. Like, yo, man, X was getting high and bugging out with this dog and having a dog rob you. And I'm not making this up, man.
One thing DMX was famously known for, aside from being an iconic rapper, was his deep love for dogs. He once said, "I trust dogs more than I trust humans."
I kept a dog with me. Kept a dog with me, man. I love dogs. I like dogs more than people.
His bond with them was evident everywhere, from featuring them on his album covers and in music videos, to claims that he trained his dogs to ad-lib during rap battles, and even reportedly involving them in his criminal escapades. But after his passing, what became of his dogs? Let's find out. The man who walked with dogs. So DMX grew up fast, and the streets raised him just as much as any person ever did. From a young age, he was surrounded by pain and pit bulls. Born and raised in Yonkers, New York, DMX came from a rough background. His home life was filled with abuse, neglect, and instability. With nowhere to turn, he found comfort in stray dogs roaming the neighborhood. To him, those dogs weren't just animals. They were just like him, abandoned, unloved, fighting every day just to survive. He related to them in a deep, personal way. At one point in his life, people said he owned up to 30 pit bulls. That shows just how strong his bond with dogs really was. It wasn't just love, it was a life connection. And that connection poured into everything he did, from his music to his image to the way he lived his life. If you listened to DMX's music, you didn't just hear rhymes, you heard dogs, literally. He was famous for adding barks, growls, and snarls into his tracks. His dog sounds became part of his signature. No other rapper did it quite like him. For DMX, those sounds were like emotions. They expressed things he couldn't always say with words. DMX talked about dogs all the time. In interviews, in his lyrics, and conversations, he made it very clear that he trusted dogs more than he trusted people. In his eyes, dogs were pure. They didn't lie. They didn't pretend. As he once said, a dog doesn't know how to lie to you. A dog doesn't know how to be fake. It is what it is. He told a story to explain it. He said you could catch a dog doing something bad, punish it, and the moment someone knocks on the door, that same dog would forget the beating and jump up ready to protect you. That, he said, was real love, the kind you don't find in many people.
A dog doesn't know how to lie to you. A dog doesn't know how to be fake. It is what it is. You could catch your dog taking a hit it with the newspaper, and then somebody knock on the door. You're like, pause and whooping. Let's address this situation.
Right.
And be ready to kill for you right after you whoop this.
Even the way he first got into trouble was dog-related. DMX once admitted that he used to steal dogs as a teenager. The very first time he got arrested, he was just 15. It was for stealing a guard dog from a junkyard. That may sound like a crime, but for DMX, it was deeper than that. He wasn't just stealing, he was saving that dog from a life on a chain. Dogs were always front and center in DMX's world.
So how did you develop your love for dogs? Because was that like...
I used to steal dogs.
From the start of his career, he brought in that raw, aggressive energy into his music. When his debut single, Get Me a Dog, dropped, it was a bomb. He wasn't coming into the rap game quietly. He barked his way in with power and hunger. Then there were songs like Dogs for Life, where DMX talked about loyalty and brotherhood. In it, he said, "I'm a dog for life, that's how I roll. I ain't got no friends, I done shook them all." That line said a lot. DMX didn't need fake friendships. He only respected loyalty, the kind dogs give naturally. Other tracks like Where the Hood At and Ain't No Way carry the same tough, no-nonsense attitude. Even his Damien series, a 3-part story spread across albums, used the idea of inner conflict and temptation, kind of like a wild dog being torn between doing what's right and what feels natural. DMX's love for dogs even showed up on his album covers. His 2003 album Grand Champ featured a fierce-looking dog representing his strength and battle scars. Then in 2006, he dropped Year of the Dog again. The cover showed him holding back a snarling pit bull on a heavy chain. Even the crew he rolled with, Rough Riders, had a name that fit perfectly. It sounded like a gang of street dogs riding together, loyal to the bone and always ready for war. X also has some wild stories with his dogs too. For instance, one of the most famous dogs he ever had was a pit bull named Boomer. DMX rescued Boomer from a shelter back in 2014, and from that point on, Boomer was always by his side. You'd see him with X at shows, in public, and even in music videos like I Don't Dance, What's My Name, and the iconic Party Up in Here. That's how much Boomer meant to him. DMX even had Boomer's name tattooed on his back as a tribute. Boomer was so popular with fans that he even had his own Instagram account, and many followers loved seeing updates of him with X. But in 2019, when Boomer passed away, DMX was completely heartbroken. The loss hit him hard. He later dedicated a song called X Moves on his 2019 album to Boomer's memory, proving just how important that dog was in his life. DMX and the Dogs Gone Wild. There were also a lot of funny and sometimes scary stories about DMX's dogs and how unpredictable they could be. One of the best-known stories came from Jadakiss, who shared a memory about being left alone with Boomer. According to him, Boomer was always calm and chill when DMX was around, but one day DMX had to step out for a moment, leaving Jadakiss alone in the car with a dog. That's when things got intense.
He always used to have his dog with him, Boomer. When he's there, it's cool, but he got out for something, to go get a cigarette or whatever it was.
As soon as DMX walked away, Boomer's whole vibe changed. Jadakiss said the dog started growling and drooling at him, staring him down like he was a threat. Jadakiss panicked. He said he was praying for DMX to hurry back because he didn't know what the dog was going to do. He even tried to open the car door to escape, but Boomer wouldn't let him move. Just when he thought he was about to get bitten, DMX returned and immediately calmed the dog down.
I'm just in the backseat with Boomer. He's growling, he's drooling on me. I'm begging for X to come back. I'm trying to get out of the car. Boomer won't let me though. And right when I thought he was gonna bite me, X came back and saved me. You good, dog? Nothing's wrong with you, dog. You all right, dog? Boomer's our family, dog. Don't worry about nothing, dog.
Another wild story came from battle rapper John DeDon, who told a crazy tale about a dog of DMX's named Turtle Buster. The name alone tells you something. John said the name probably came from how powerful the dog was, like it could literally bust open a turtle shell.
Everybody just outside. He's out there with his dog. He had a new dog he named Turtle Buster.
Damn.
Turtle Buster.
Yes.
Turtle Buster is that?
Yeah, basically just trying to say like he's gonna be powerful enough to bust a turtle shell.
Oh.
One day, John had a ball with him, and DMX was hanging out with Turtle Buster. DMX asked for the ball, so John handed it to him. DMX then tossed the ball in the air, and Turtle Buster jumped up and ripped the ball into pieces with its teeth like it was nothing. John was so shocked he didn't even say anything, but DMX, always cool about things, handed him $50 for the ball, and just like that, everything was settled.
So I got the ball. Yo, shorty, let me see that ball. This is X. I give him the ball.
You gave it to him.
I gave it to him. He throws it in there with Turtle Buster. Turtle Buster ripped this ball apart.
Damn. He looked at me.
He said, hey, good looking, shorty. Hand me $50. I said, oh yeah, it's up.
Oh, we good?
But not all stories about DMX and his dogs were harmless. Some were straight up dangerous. There have been several tales about how DMX would actually use his dogs to help him steal from people. According to Jermaine Dupri, there was one unforgettable night where DMX actually robbed a music reporter using nothing but his dog. No guns, no threats, just the intimidating presence of his loyal canine. This incident happened during a studio session for the song Get Your Ish Right, a track from Dupri's 1998 album, Life in 1472. Jermaine described it as one of the craziest nights ever. In a video he posted to his Instagram, he explained how the whole thing went down. Dupri had arranged for a writer from The Source magazine to attend this session and cover the creative process, kind of like behind-the-scenes promo. The idea was to show the world what it was like working with heavy hitters like DMX, so the reporter got to the New York studio early before DMX arrived. Then DMX showed up with both of his dogs by his side. Nothing seemed out of place at first, but by the time Jermaine Dupri made it to the studio himself, the vibe had totally shifted. That same reporter had just been robbed.
DMX shows up. At this time, DMX is walking around with his dogs. But by the time I got to the studio, the reporter had gotten robbed. DMX basically robbed the reporter with his dog. No gun, just the dog.
And not in the usual way. According to Dupree, DMX used this dog to intimidate the reporter and make him hand over his belongings. There were no weapons involved, just X, his dogs, and that signature intensity. He reportedly walked up to the reporter, started pressing him with questions, and then told him to run his ish, slang for handing over everything he had, from jewelry to personal items.
DMX came in and DMX started questioning the reporter and told the reporter to run his take off his whatever he had on.
The dog never even had to attack, just its presence was enough. But this isn't the only time something like that was said to have happened. Jadakiss also backed up similar stories during an interview with Power 106 back in 2019. He talked about how, back in the day, DMX used to rob people in Yonkers with his dog Boomer. According to Jadakiss, DMX didn't need a gun. If he had Boomer with him, you already knew what time it was. The dog was so well trained and dangerous that just seeing it was enough to make people give up whatever X asked for. Jadakiss joked that it wasn't even called armed robbery, it was dog robbery. He said it best: to come from my hood, walking around with a pit bull, robbing people with his dog, to doing movies with Jet Li, X was crazy. But he also pointed out that DMX's bond with his dogs was deep, and no matter how intense or wild the stories got, he truly loved all of them. And it wasn't just about robbing people. DMX's dogs were part of his music in ways that shocked people. During an episode of Drink Champs, battle rapper Murda Mook shared one of the most unbelievable DMX dog stories of all. He told Nori and DJ EFN that DMX once trained one of his dogs to ad-lib during a freestyle battle. Mook described a legendary battle in Harlem on 121st Street and 7th Avenue, where DMX was facing off against a rapper named Den. A crowd of people gathered around as X did his thing, but then he brought in his dog. According to Mook, DMX mentioned his dog during the freestyle, and right on cue, the dog growled. The crowd went crazy. X didn't skip a beat, he flowed straight into his next bar like it was all part of the show.
He just like, horns to the right you. This all I remember. The phones to the like you. Some girls to the like you. Be careful. Take from my dog. She might bite you. And then the dog, he go, and then the dog go, he's like, and then the dog growl, he's like, chill, ma, let me get him.
Legal troubles. Now, as much as DMX's love for dogs was well known and deeply tied to who he was, not all of his history with dogs had a happy or symbolic ending. For all the stories about loyalty and connection, there was also a darker side, one that followed him through years of legal troubles and controversy. Let's rewind to 1999. At the time, DMX was one of the biggest names in hip-hop, but trouble came knocking when police raided his home in New Jersey. What they found raised serious concerns: 13 pit bulls crammed into small, unhealthy living spaces. Now, there was no evidence that the dogs had been directly harmed or abused, but it was clear that they were being neglected. The environment was poor, the care wasn't up to standard, and people started asking questions. DMX took full responsibility, released a few public service announcements about animal care, and eventually the charges were dropped, but only under the condition that he would step up and take better care of his dogs moving forward. Unfortunately, things didn't exactly improve over time. Fast forward to 2007 and the situation had escalated. This time it was his property in Cave Creek, Arizona that got raided, and what authorities found there was even more disturbing. Inside the house and around the yard, over a dozen pit bulls were discovered, many of them left without food or water and kept in terrible, inhumane conditions. It wasn't just about neglect anymore, it looked much worse. But what truly shocked investigators was what they uncovered in the yard: the buried remains of 3 dogs. An autopsy revealed some horrifying details. One of the dogs had multiple bite wounds, another had suffered some kind of blunt trauma to its abdomen, and a third was so badly burned that they couldn't even figure out what exactly had happened to it. The full causes of death were unclear, but the signs pointed to serious mistreatment or violence. Facing all of this, DMX pleaded guilty in 2008 to a range of charges: animal cruelty, theft, and drug possession. The court didn't go lightly. As part of his plea deal, he was sentenced to at least 90 days in jail, banned from owning animals, banned from having firearms, and required to attend a special treatment program for animal offenders. The message was clear: one more misstep and DMX could be facing over 10 years in prison.
Authorities say they found neglected dogs along with drugs and weapons at his North Phoenix home in August of 2007.
But the saga didn't end there. Just a few months later, in May, when police came to his home to arrest him again for missing a court appearance, they found even more pit bull puppies alongside illegal drugs. It felt like the cycle was repeating and critics were quick to pile on. Some sources went even further, accusing DMX of being involved in dogfighting, though no formal charges ever stuck. One Reddit user even claimed to have adopted one of DMX's old dogs, a pit bull named X, and said the dog had been used as a bait dog. Its teeth were filed down, apparently, so it couldn't fight back. The user said that every time they gave the dog a bath, they could see dozens of scars from past fights. That same post compared DMX directly to Michael Vick, who famously went to prison for dogfighting. Others online echoed those sentiments, saying X had a reputation for neglecting his animals and only pleaded guilty to cut deals and avoid worse charges. Still, DMX denied any involvement in dogfighting. He claimed he only pleaded guilty to the animal cruelty charges as part of a legal agreement, not because he had anything to do with the abuse. His legal team also pointed out that he wasn't even in Arizona at the time of the 2007 raid. In fact, according to them, DMX had been gone for over 2 months, and the blame should fall on the caretaker he left in charge of the property. His lawyer also added that DMX was extremely disturbed when he found out what had happened to the dogs. DMX never stopped insisting in interviews that he had nothing to do with the abuse or neglect of the dogs found on his property. He stood firm, saying that he would never intentionally harm a dog, and honestly, a lot of fans believed him, but not everyone was convinced. Some people pointed out that while DMX may not have directly hurt his dogs, he was also fighting his own demons, and those struggles could have led to careless or unintentional neglect. And truthfully, DMX was dealing with a lot. His battles with addiction, the law, and personal trauma followed him for years. It wasn't just a one-time slip-up. DMX's life was a constant fight to stay afloat, and the consequences piled up. Over the course of his life, he was arrested around 30 times. His last stint behind bars came in 2018, and this time, it wasn't for drugs or animal-related charges. It was for tax fraud. Prosecutors accused DMX of dodging nearly $1.7 million in taxes, and their case was pretty detailed. They claimed that he went out of his way to avoid the IRS. He refused to open bank accounts, refused to put his hit records in his own name, and lived mostly on cash payments to stay off the radar. It was a strategy that might have worked short-term, but it eventually caught up to him. The court sentenced him to 1 year in federal prison, and he ended up serving around 10 months before being released in early 2019. That would be the last time DMX ever saw the inside of a jail cell, and when he came out, it really did look like he was trying to make a change. He kept a low profile for a bit, staying clean, leaning into his spirituality, and focusing on the things that mattered most to him: his children, his health, and his music. He started performing again, showing up at shows and doing interviews, and even in those interviews, you could still feel that raw, unfiltered honesty that fans always respected him for. He didn't sugarcoat anything, he owned his past, but he also talked about healing, faith, and redemption. For the first time in a long time, people believed DMX might finally be catching a break. But just when it seemed like things were turning around, tragedy struck. On April 2, 2021, news broke that DMX had been rushed to the hospital. He had suffered a heart attack reportedly brought on by a drug overdose. It was like the whole world paused. He was placed on life support, and for days, fans, friends, and family held on to hope. But the miracle never came. On April 9, 2021, after nearly a week in coma, DMX was pronounced dead. He was just 50 years old.